Hey, welcome everybody. Today we're going to be discussing how to survive at DEFCON. Got a whole bunch of veterans of DEFCON here from the Null 404 group. Starting up with Sinak. All you, brother.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for jumping in. I'll be doing a quick survival guide on attending DEF CON. So for those that attended this talk last year, it'll be very similar to what we went over, but I've added in a few different things. And then what I'll be doing is taking some of the slides from Urban Underground's talk they did over the weekend on Friday, and from DEF CON DCA 58 San Diego, and sharing those two because there's great things in both. So yeah, so this is how to survive the heat, the parties, the talks and hacks, and how not to get pwned. This will be my 8th year, I think, going. So I think I've been going 7 years. I'm starting to lose count. So this is just some of the stuff that I've learned along the way. And then what we'll do is towards the end, after I talk, if we'll open up to the floor and let everybody kind of share your tips, tricks, and things like that. So DEF CON 32, that's this year's DEF CON. It's going to be going on from August 8th through the 11th. And the theme this year is engage. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but I will provide the slide deck at the very end for you to read more about it. But the biggest thing to focus on this year is breaking out of like technological monopolies and building out communities and systems that are less centralized and more, I wouldn't say federated in a way, but that are more out of the control of the big companies, and getting involved with kind of help bring back the old internet. There's a great talk by Cory Doctorow on this exact topic, and DEF CON, their DEF CON website actually goes into this pretty good about the theme for the year. So check that out. I'll provide a link in the slide deck with that. Every year, DEF CON's got a theme to it. But going into the conference itself, for those that have never been before, it's in Las Vegas. It's one of the hottest deserts in America. Temperatures can vary differently, are pretty very pretty I can talk today widely, from like 95 degrees all the way up to almost 120. This year might even be hotter because this year's been just hotter in general. And even at night, you're still looking at almost near triple digits. Typically, it's monsoon season in August in Vegas, so you have a lot of rain. It'll be very humid. We've seen flash floods. We've seen locusts. Last year we had a bomb threat. All sorts of shenanigans going on. Hopefully this year will be good. We're trying to, DEF CON's changed a lot of locations throughout the years, and DEF CON's growing. I think they're roughly at like 50,000 attendees. I don't remember the numbers from last year, but it was somewhere around that number, and it's growing. And so there's not a lot of places that can hold that many people. So I'll be kind of talking more about the venue in just a second. But that's something to keep in mind. Yaxis, that's on the server here, he did a great deck that I'm going to jump over and share as well too, about DEF CON, where it's held at. So this year it's going to be held at the Las Vegas Convention Center West. If you guys can see my cursor, this is the location. It's in between. We got Resort World over here, Sahara up here, Fountain Blue, and a few other different hotels. And I believe this is the west side of the convention center. I think the east side's over here. It's huge. It's like one of the largest convention centers in the whole world, or at least on the West Coast.
Yeah, there's a west, a center, and a south hall. West is the newest one. It's where the old Riviera was.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and yeah. Speaking of that too, this is another great map that Yax has put together. So this shows up all the different hotels in the area that surround the area. You got Westgate, Circus, Fontainebleau, Sahara, the Tuscany's down here, the Encore, Resort World. So it's kind of in the middle of all those. It's we have a monorail that runs through here. I don't know. Does this show the monorail at all? I think you got it in one of these. Yeah, right
So
here.
the second map that you opened had the monorail stops
Was it this? Oh, right
right there
here.
with respect to where things are on the map.
Yeah,
I'm happy to drop a I'm happy to drop another version of the map as well if you're taking screenshots right now.
yeah. And you're cool with me sharing this deck too?
Uh, yeah, the deck just in Discord.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll share a copy of this one as well too. I'll have the access. He could drop a link to that as well. This he's done a lot more. He went a lot more in depth than I did. But by now, I won't go too much into the hotel situation because by now I would hope most of you guys have the hotels picked out. I'll kind of go over like what to bring and what to kind of prepare yourselves with. Um, but do keep in mind there are a couple different options from the hotels to the convention center. You have the monorail, which goes along the this east side of the strip. This kind of is a map right here that shows the path. So you go starts from the Sahara on the north side. It goes all the way down to Harrah's and Link, and I think it even goes even farther than that. I think it goes all the way down to MGM roughly. Um, so for those that are familiar to where DEFCON was last year, it was right around here between the Sphere and the Venetian next to the Link hotel. So if you want to get around, that is one option. You do have the new the Elon Musk's like loop or hyperloop, whatever he's calling it now, which is a tunnel that's underneath the strip. We don't know yet if it's going to be open. I don't know if anybody has any news on that, but it's roughly $5 a day. I think it does 40,000 people per hour, and it's pretty much just like a road underneath the strip with Teslas that are driving back and forth, shuttling people to different hotels and whatnot. So this shows off like where the loop stops are at, which is mostly Resort World to the Las Vegas Convention Center. Um, Other than that, you got taxis, um, or Ubers and Lyfts to get around. So if you're in a rush, that might be your best bet. So things to keep in mind. Oh, I got feedback from somebody. I forget now. This is the map of the convention center itself. It kind of reminded me of Avengers Campus when I saw it. It's kind of like but this is the first floor, this is the second floor, and then the third floor. I think these are on the DEF CON website, I believe. Yaxis? Is that where you snagged these from? I believe that's the case.
I don't know if they're up on the DEFCON website yet, but they are on the Hacker Tracker. Yeah, this is basically for public release.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so I'll go over the hacker tracker in a minute too, for those that aren't aware. So, the great thing about it this year is I believe everything's going to be at one convention center. So, as of right now, I'm not aware if it's going to be spread across any other hotels. So that could save a little bit in the walking. So something to note. The hacker tracker, for those that aren't aware, I think you got a good link on here. The hacker tracker is an app you can download for your phone. You can get it for Android, you can get it for Apple. There is a website as well too. It is open source, which is something I didn't know. I figured it was, but I actually was able to find the address for that. So if you're, the thing about the name, the hacker tracker, always makes me a little skeptical. Which is a funny name, but they actually do have a GitHub repo with all this source code on it. So if you even wanted to go, you can even compile your own binaries if necessary. if you're really wearing the tinfoil hat thick. Something to check out. It's going to have all the maps. It's going to have all the different talks that are going on. I believe they might even have the parties as well too, which I'll go over a little bit more as well. So something to keep in mind. And bear with me, I'm going to be jumping around a little bit. Speaking of like the event itself and what's going on during DEFCON, you actually did a good job spreading out, showing what's going on during that week. So Vegas is going to be really, really busy that week. Not only do you have Hacker Summer Camp, is what we call it, going on that week, but there's also other conferences in general in Vegas. There's every convention center there is typically booked, so you have hundreds of thousands of people on the strip. But in regards to Hacker Summer Camp, we have Black Hat that's going on at the beginning of the week prior to DEF CON. You have the trainings. I know a few of you guys here are going to Black Hat, so if you guys are, I'm jealous. So have fun. Especially if you're doing the trainings. The Black Hat trainings are really, really, really good. You got B-sides though going on Tuesday, Wednesday. And then you have DEF CON starting up on that Thursday through Sunday. I'll do a shout out too before I forget to the Diana Initiative. That is the Monday. And there's links on here too if you want some more information. Jump back over to my slide deck. I will link to this later. Deviant Olm did a recent video a couple weeks ago, walking to the convention center from all of these different hotels, and he wrote down how long it takes. So if you're in any of these hotels, this is a rough timeline of how long it could take to walk to the convention center from there. So pretty cool. I'll point the link out at the very end. So go to DEF CON. A lot of questions is like, what should I bring to DEF CON? A lot of folks worry about bringing too little, and a lot of folks have been going for many years might worry about bringing too much. I'll talk about what I believe are the essentials, and then the nice to haves. And then we'll at the very end, if you guys have other things that you recommend bringing, like by all means, like share. But the biggest thing in here I put at the top of the list is comfortable shoes. Typically, you're going to be walking 15 to 20,000 steps in a day. Hopefully, this year will be a little bit better if there's not multiple hotels to walk around. If it's just at one convention center, it could cut down a little bit of the walking. But in Vegas in general, you're going to walk a ton. Regardless of monorails and Ubers and Lyfts and all those kind of things, bring a good pair of shoes and make sure you're not wearing them for the first time at DEF CON. Break them in before you come. Also, you're in the middle of the desert, bring chapstick. I don't know about you. I mean, I'm in SoCal where it's pretty dry, but chapstick is definitely a godsend to have. So I don't know if I have it on here, but another thing too, which I should put on the list, is bring some throat lozenges. I don't know about you guys, but I lose my voice every DEF CON. A lot of that's from the air conditioning, the dry weather, the talking really loud at parties and events, the smoke that's in the air from the casinos, all those different things just wreck me. So I almost guaranteed every year I lose my voice. I put on here too, Tylenol. You're going to party hard, potentially. You might drink too much. You might stay up too late. Good for solving those headaches. Water, lots of water. You're in the middle of the desert. Bring a bottle with you. Carry it with you. There will typically be fill stations around DEF CON. I don't see that changing this year. But bring water just in case. Don't rely on there being water throughout the venue. Earplugs, things can get loud, especially if you're trying to sleep. Sweatshirt, that sounds weird because you're in the middle of the desert. Oh, look, I do have cough drops on here. Sweatshirt might sound weird, but the conference centers are usually really, really cold. Same with the casinos, they're pumping the AC. And a lot of times it might be 120 outside, but when you walk inside, it could be like 60 degrees and you might be freezing your ass off. And that temperature swing can lead to a lot of folks not feeling very good too. So pack a light sweater. I wouldn't say bring a thick one. Typically, they'll be selling sweaters at the con too. EFF has a great one if you want to support EFF. And most of the other swag areas and the vendor areas will be selling sweatshirts. So something to keep in mind. I already went over cough drops, power strips, battery packs. Though you're bringing out electronic devices, your laptops, your phones. That seems like a kind of a no-brainer. Also, cash. Cash is important. If you're buying a badge at DEF CON, I'd recommend, if you're going to DEF CON, get a badge now. They extended it to the 22nd, so you can buy online and reserve your badge. It is like $20 more, but it does guarantee you a physical badge. Based off the badge from last year, there's a high likelihood that this year's badge will be digital, more than likely, not guaranteed, but usually every couple of years they might go back to like a non-digital badge. That's how it was last year. So if you do get a badge right now online, you can reserve yourself an actual physical badge. If you are showing up without pre-registering, then you'll need to have cash, and it's about $460, I believe, at the door to get into the conference. Also, you're going to a hacker convention. Bring cash with you. A lot of the ATMs might be down. I've seen them hacked. You're also the vendor areas. A lot of times they might be certain vendors might be cash only. Over time, it's kind of changed where you're getting more vendors that are accepting credit cards, but carrying cash on you is smart in this situation. Also, if you're going to the bars and things like that, money to tip is always a good idea. Travel router. I know a lot of people don't talk about this, but I'll be going over this a little bit more. If you're going to DEF CON and you're going to be connecting to any networks, I recommend bringing a travel router to connect to the conference Wi-Fi on, or at least the hotel Wi-Fi. Like I said, I'll go over that in just a second in another slide. But other than that, Ethernet cables if you are wiring in, and then last but definitely not least, deodorant. I'll be talking about the 3-2-1 rule in a bit, about how to stay cleanly and sane at DEF CON. So I'll go over that. Nice to haves though. Batteries for badges. A lot of times they'll hand out badges, and they'll give you some batteries, but typically the batteries will only last for so long, and typically store shelves for batteries around the con area typically sell out. I know back in the day when Fry's was still around, if the badge took AA batteries, all the AA batteries at Fry's and a lot of the local areas were completely wiped out, because either the con folks went there that ran the con to buy up all their batteries, or attendees went there to buy up the batteries. So keep that in mind, not just for the conference badge, but for if you're buying other badges at the conference. Just come in with a couple extra AAAs, AAs, and maybe some, I put watch batteries, but that's kind of a mixed bag. CR32 battery that you find in most motherboards is a common battery you might find in a badge. But I think AAs and AAAs will probably get you by. If you're going to be attending the lockpicking village, bringing your favorite set of lockpicks is something to consider. If you don't have lockpicks, they'll be selling lockpicks there. Snacks, food is it can be scarce depending on where you're at in Vegas. At the conference, they do have different they call them like chill, like hangout zones that sometimes have food. It can be expensive, might not have food that you like there. A lot of it might not be portable either, so I recommend bringing snacks, whether that's like trail mix or whatever. Sunscreen, you're in the desert, you're under the sun, that's a no-brainer. If you're going to any pool parties, bring sunscreen. I've thrown eye drops on there too, since you're somewhere that's really dry. You got like I said, the air conditioning pumping 24/7. If you have contacts, your eyes are going to get dried out. If you're not getting much sleep, your eyes are going to get dried out. Not a bad idea to throw some eye drops in there. If you're going to be a pool goer and attend the pool parties, that's some of my favorite time at DEF CON is the pool parties. I know, I think it was DEF CON 30 or DEF CON 29. There's like 3 pool parties at the Flamingos, like 3 nights in a row. It was a ton of fun. So bring a bathing suit. Also, too, soldering iron and supplies. If you are wanting to get into badge life this year, I'll talk about that on another slide. Consider bringing a soldering iron and some solder and the other items that go with that. Because a lot of times you'll get a badge, sometimes for free, sometimes you might buy one, and a lot of times they might not be assembled, and you might need to assemble it on the spot. Worst case scenario, though, if you don't have a soldering iron and you don't want to invest in one, typically there will be villages with soldering irons that are typically near like the lockpicking village or whatnot that will have stations for you to go and actually use to solder things like that together. But they're not typically that great of quality soldering irons. If you're used to a good quality soldering iron, it may be not a bad idea to bring one. You can get some really inexpensive, nice like USB-C powered soldering irons from the internet that are portable. If you guys are curious about that, hit me up. I can send you a link. Also, wired headphones. I'll talk about this in another site as well. You're going to DEF CON. A lot of people are trying out new toys, hacking Wi-Fi, hacking Bluetooth, jamming Wi-Fi, things like that. It's not a bad idea to consider turning off your Bluetooth and Wi-Fi on your devices and using wired headphones as like a security precaution. I'll talk more about that too in another slide. Sorry, I know I got a lot of things on here, but I'm almost through it. Rain jacket, like I mentioned earlier, there can be, it's monsoon season in Vegas and there can be floods. I'll share this video of DEFCON 30. Yeah, DEFCON 30. There was a massive flash floods that took over Vegas, and this is like literally, I was driving down the strip and it was like this. I'm so glad I bought my truck that year because like parts of the strip were like about 2.5 feet deep in water, and water was just coming in through like the casino like vents and down the parking garages. People were like sliding down the parking garages like they were water slides. It was pretty insane. So consider bringing a raincoat, maybe pack a light poncho. I'm not kidding there. I've many years we'll be driving home from Vegas. There'll be like crazy rain and lightning storms. In the desert, it's pretty epic to watch that. Lastly on here, business cards. If you have business cards or any sort of blank cards or notepad or something for swapping contacts, I'll be talking about some of the events to be checking out, but you will be meeting a lot of people at DEF CON. And chances are if you meet somebody that's cool, you might want to get their contact. A lot of folks are sometimes weird about connecting like on the spot with like LinkedIn and Discord or things like that. So consider, having some sort of way to write down a contact and hand it to them or receive it. Next slide. So yeah, there will be a lot of people at DEF CON. This is an average room. There'll typically be a couple big tracks where you'll have just thousands of people in there attending a single talk. So if you're a little agoraphobic, maybe bring some Xanax. Just something to consider. The wall of sheep too. I'll talk a little bit about this later. This is not as big of a deal as it used to be, but back in the day when websites and individuals use less encryption in their connectivity between like websites and the banks and whatnot that they use on their phones, and they're connected to the the DEFCON Wi-Fi. There's a group called the Wall of Sheep that will actually scan the network and publicly post people's usernames and part of the passwords and IP addresses and things like that. They've trimmed a lot of it down. They used to like just show them like completely open in the clear, and then they got a little bit more nicer over the years. And now it's not as bad because most connections are encrypted. But this is just a reminder to be safe when you're at DEF CON, because at DEF CON on the Wi-Fi, especially if you're on the open Wi-Fi, it is one of the most hostile networks in the world. You can only imagine a lot of folks there that are, they're getting new toys, they're learning about new scripts, new tools, and they're wanting to try it out. You don't want to be the victim of those individuals. So you don't want to end up on the wall of sheep. Something to keep in mind in regards to your OPSEC, your personal security at the device, or at the conference. No one's probably going to burn a 0-day on you. I mean, unless you're like somebody of real importance. I don't know. I'm not going to call anybody out here, but for the most part, you're not going to get anybody that's going to be wasting a 0-day on you. So to be crazy paranoid, I wouldn't stress too much about it at DEF CON. For the most part, if your devices are up to date, you're going to be pretty good. But there are some recommendations to be, safe while you're at the conference. Some recommendations I put on here. I think by default, if you're at DEF CON, use a VPN. Like, there's really no reason not to. It just covers you in case you're connecting to anything that might not have the best security. You could say, hey, I'm not going to connect to the Wi-Fi at all. That's great. But DEF CON's also been known for many years for having Stingrays, which are like portable cell towers that are around Vegas that can intercept your phone's cell signal. So, is it likely? Probably not. Should you, take the steps to be cautious? I would. Just me personally. If you're not using Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, I'd recommend turning it off. If you can get away with it, maybe not use it at all. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Try to use cellular if possible. Another recommendation I put on the list this year was wiping any saved APs, which are like wireless connections that are on your phone. Because if you are going to turn on just Wi-Fi in general on your phone, everything that you connected to in the past, like your home Wi-Fi, Starbucks Wi-Fi, maybe like the airport Wi-Fi, those all get broadcasted out from your phone every like few seconds. And anybody with like a Wi-Fi pineapple or any sort of other type of wireless hacking device can intercept those connections, and they can actually replay them and become like a man in the middle. A good example is if you've ever connected to a Starbucks Wi-Fi network and your phone's Wi-Fi is on, your phone's going to beacon out saying, hey, where is the Starbucks Wi-Fi? And the guy with the Wi-Fi pineapple could be like, hey, I'm the Starbucks Wi-Fi. And then what he can do is then trick your phone into connecting to that network, and these are typically like networks you've connected to in the past that were like open access points, ones without like any sort of WPA encryption on it. But if you connect to that, without you even knowing it, they can then intercept your communication. And if you have any sort of, connecting to any sites that have lower security settings applied to them, you can potentially be intercepted. So just something to keep in mind. That's not too much of a pipe dream at DEF CON. That definitely does happen. There's been people in the past who have took advantage of people buying devices like Wi-Fi pineapples. You get these kids that buy these Wi-Fi pineapples at DEF CON. They turn them on, and they typically start broadcasting this like default SSID with a default password. And people have been known to like build these interception devices that capture these Wi-Fi pineapples that get turned on and go and brick them. Some tales I've heard in the past. So, if possible, try to use wired connections if possible. And which leads into the next part, which is consider buying a travel router. I have some links in the next slide about what type of travel router to buy. They're typically cheap, under $30 to $40. And they typically run open source firmware like OpenWRT on them, and you can use that to connect to the open networks or the networks that are unsafe. I would consider any network at DEF CON, whether it's DEF CON itself or it's a hotel network, consider it like you're connecting directly to the open internet. I would even consider it being a little bit more hostile there because you have people there like purposely trying to get into systems. I know on the open internet it's the same thing. Typically it's more bots, but this could be more of a targeted attack. So I'm not trying to scare anybody, but just something to keep in mind. You just want to stay cognizant of where you're at, what you're connecting to, things like that. The travel router acts as a extra layer of protection. The travel router will have a firewall built in. You can set up a VPN connectivity, so all your traffic gets sent over a VPN automatically. So even if your laptop or your phone doesn't have a VPN or it wasn't on by accident, the travel router will take care of that connection. Also, this might be a little more extreme, but if you have a privacy screen and you can put one on, I would consider throwing one on. That protects against folks for shoulder surfing. Also, if you don't already use long, secure, unique passwords on your devices, that's kind of like obvious, but a lot of folks change their passwords while they go to when they go to DEF CON. So in case they did get people prying on them when they put the passwords in, those passwords will be burned after DEF CON. So that's like I put that as extra credits. It's a little tinfoil hatty, but something to consider. Hotel room safety. Actually, I'm going to switch over to this slide deck. This is a little out of order here. I got to jump in just a few minutes, so I apologize. I got somewhere I got to be. But regarding the connectivity about those travel routers, these are a couple of options I recommend. These anything that's from GLINet. They make hardware that you can flash open source firmware on. These are two options, one for $30, one for $40. They're great, not just at DEF CON, but if you're traveling or you're somewhere and you're connecting to like your Airbnb's Wi-Fi network or airport network, these are great devices to have. You can put a VPN profile on it and so on. DEF CON does have wireless networks, as I mentioned before, there that are open for everybody to use. There is the open DEF CON network, which is probably, like I mentioned, one of the most hostile networks in the world. And then there's the secure Wi-Fi network, and I'll say that's secure with quotes. I would say it's relatively secure. They use WPA 2. I think now they use WPA 3 Enterprise with certificates, and you can actually go on DEF CON's website. I can share a link when we get closer to DEF CON. It's not usually up right now, but they will. You can actually register to get a certificate set up that you can set up on your device. So if you're going to connect to the Wi-Fi, there's that, and then they also enable client isolation on the network. So theoretically, devices can't talk to other devices while on the DEF CON network, but take that with a grain of salt. I'm sure it's pretty secure, but I want to put all your I want to completely put in all your faith into that security as a whole. At very minimum, if you're going to connect to it with your devices, just use a VPN just to be safe. Hotel room safety, lock up your stuff. Don't trust hotel room safes. If you have something that's very valuable to you, don't trust that the hotel safe is gonna protect you. There's other stories about that in the past, but there's been stories about people breaking into people's rooms at DEFCON, stealing, cloning their RFID cards off their hotel keys and breaking in that way. The safes are easily, you can use like what do you call it? Like these special magnets to like break into most of those safes. So if you're driving out there and you have a car, consider putting your valuables maybe in your car or just carrying them with you. Don't leave them behind if possible. The hotel staff, if they're going to clean your room, I typically recommend you not leaving anything valuable in there when the hotel staff are in there. You can leave a do not disturb sign on your door, but after the whole Las Vegas shooter incident, a lot of hotels will, after like 3 or 4 days, they'll just come in and clean your room anyways, regardless of you having the sign on your door. I don't know if they changed that policy, but I know a lot of hotels do that. And like I mentioned earlier, use a travel router when connecting to the hotel Wi-Fi. Things to do at DEFCON. DEFCON trainings. If you haven't signed up for them, you might be too late, but there are other workshops and things that pop up at the different villages. So if you get a chance, check them
Sean.
out.
Hey, Sean, I know you're hitting your backstop, man, so I'll be happy to help you out here.
Oh, yeah, I will. I'll wrap it up and then I'll jump and then I'll jump back on the call for my car. So I'm almost through this. I'll let you take over.
Right on, man. Just wanted to make sure you're good.
Yeah, thanks. Workshops. Yeah, I mentioned workshops, DEFCON trainings. I'm mixing the two up. So DEFCON trainings are separate from the workshops. I don't know if anybody knows if the trainings are still available, but that's something that they introduced about 2 years ago. Yeah, I don't know. You come off mic. Give me info.
I was going to say, I'm not too sure about the training. The trainings aren't as popular, so there should still be room.
Okay. Yeah. So, and those cost money. So something to keep in mind. They're kind of like the Black Hat trainings. They're, like I said, a new offering that started around 2 years ago. You got the villages. There's probably like 30 plus villages there, from like the satellite hacking village, car hacking village, AI hacking village. I mean, I can go on forever. I'm not gonna list them all. CTFs. Most villages will have their own CTFs. If you got like the biohacking village has a CTF, or the medical device village, the red team village, blue team village, you name it, they got a CTF. I want to do a special shout out for the Toxic Barbecue. It's one of my favorite events. It's going to be the Thursday of DEFCON. That evening, it's at a park that's way off the strip. If you can carpool out there, that'd be my recommendation. Otherwise, it can be a kind of a hefty Uber ride out there. I mean, I think it cost me like $30-$40 one year just to get to the barbecue via Uber. So if you can carpool, try that, if possible. DEFCON parties. I know in Yaxis's slide deck, he's got links to, I think, the parties. So that will be there. There's official parties, and then there's like unofficial parties. I think our party is going to fall under one of the unofficial parties. But that's something to check out. If you're coming like Tuesday night, and we'll be there like the Wednesday of DEFCON, like before DEFCON. I believe that's the day that they're doing the DEFCON shoot, where you can go shoot guns at a shooting range with a bunch of other nerds. So I know Werelock did that last year and had a lot of fun. Deviant Ollam is one of the guys that's there every year. So something to check out. Scavenger hunt. Yaxis I know he's been doing that for the last couple of years. That's supposedly a lot of fun. I haven't done it myself, but it looks like a lot of fun. You got the vendor area. You're typically going to have like Hack 5, No Starch Press, a bunch of different companies there that are going to be selling different types of hacking gear. Hacker Warehouse is usually there every year. They are the ones that have like a huge assortment of like hack RFs and things like that. If there's And same with the swag. I didn't put the swag on here, but the swag area and the vendor area. If there's something you want swag wise or vendor wise, go there ASAP because the vendor area and the swag area they sell out really fast. I hear from some folks that work the swag booth that the swag system is supposed to be a lot better this year. Supposed to be a lot um, just more efficient. So hopefully there won't be like 5 hour, 6 hour, uh, waits in line to get your supplies or your swag or whatnot. So something to keep in mind. Null 44 DEFCON party. I'll let Kevin cover that just because I'm almost out of time. Additional notes I put in here, some obvious stuff. Don't use random charger kiosks for charging your devices. That's kind of a no-brainer. If you have RFID blocking wallets, might be not a bad place to bring one. Like I said in the past, people have tried cloning hotel room keys and things like that. Everybody now is going to have the flipper device. Even though that can't really clone a lot of different hotel keys, you never know. So just be safe. Faraday bags might be another option. If you've got a cheap throwaway laptop or a cheap laptop you don't care about, and you're going to do some hacking on the network, that might not be a bad time to bring it. Sign up for workshops if you can. Like I said, it might be too late. The last slide has a couple different things. Tiberius, he does a really good video he posted a couple weeks ago on preparing for DEF CON, and so did Deviant Ollam. I shared links to that here. And oh yeah, I do have DEF CON parties. With that being said, that's pretty much all I got. I know I talked quite a lot, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Kevin take over. I'm going to drop off, and then in a few minutes, I'm going to drop back on from my headset. But I'll let Magus and Kevin, they can answer any questions people might have. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a few. Sounds good?
Sounds good. Thanks, Sean.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate
Thanks,
it, man.
guys. I'm going to drop off. I'll see you guys in just a few.
All right. Hey, so for those who are experts and have been to DEF CON multiple times, is there anything that you guys would recommend to first-time goers or anyone just wanting to hear war stories about DEF CON, what happens in previous years?
I got a question.
What's up?
What was the other thing besides don't change random charger kiosk or change cables that aren't yours, RFD blocking wallet, Faraday bag, throwaway laptop. What else was there?
So the easy, I guess the easy answer I'm going to hit to get out of this question is going to be, it all depends on your level of what you think is risk and what you're tolerable for, right? Like if your phone's dead and it's super important that you get a hold of a taxi or an Uber to get home, and the only kiosk is one that says, charge your phones here, and it has like a little angry face on it, it's probably going to be stealing your data as you do it, but at least you get home, right? So you just have to kind of play against those. It depends on your level of what your risk is when you go to an event that's going to be filled with hackers. Every year they say DEF CON in Las Vegas is the most contested internet you could ever be a part of. Everything from like the RF Village, which is the radio frequency side, doing interceptions and trackings and just soaking up information, to people hacking all the Wi-Fi packets that are coming across. People are literally walking around with, I think it's called a Wi-Fi cactus. It's like, I think it was like 100 and something like Wi-Fi antennas. So one antenna for every band or every channel of Wi-Fi that existed. So they soaked up everything. So it all depends on what your level of risk tolerance is. And if you think you were going to walk around without your cell phone off, that's probably safer than anything. But if you think it's important to still communicate with your people, so on and so forth. I know I kind of like got out of it by saying risk, but sweet. Okay. Anyone have anything else? the one thing that I personally didn't know until my second year going there was that I'll add to when I make up my like what I'm going to do at DEF CON, I prioritize um, things that I'm super interested in, but not the talks because all the talks get recorded and uploaded to YouTube within the next week. So I don't have to focus on going to a talk unless it's something I'm really interested in and I want to network with people in that field that I'm interested in. For example, I went to one that was about like spread spectrum RF technologies, and I wanted to like talk with people that was in that field and actually ask questions. If I just wanted to receive information, they're going to post it on YouTube. I'm not going to waste my time. DEF CON's only 3 days long. So I'm going to focus my time on things that I want to like with people I want to network. That's my personal like objective is when I go there is meet people, learn about new tech that's coming out over the next couple of years, and hopefully learn a couple things while I'm there.
That's also something I realized too last year was my first year, and I'm not going to make that mistake again this year.
Yeah, what they record everything. I'll watch it later if it's not something like I'm really interested in. If it's something I'm really interested, I'll go to like 1 or 2 talks. I'm more interested in the hands-on labs, people showing off some new software that's being dropped or some open source software, how to use it. That stuff I actually really. John, you got anything?
Yeah, the other piece of advice, so aside from the stuff that Kevin has talked about, I think one of the biggest problems that I ran into last year was, don't drink too much. It's very easy to do, but you'll find that you then feel like absolute shit the next day, and it really impedes your ability to go interact with people and do cool stuff. So yeah, just be aware of that. Know your limits, and
I agree with
realize
this.
that your limits change because of the fact that you're in a desert. All right. So
Yeah, don't drink a full bottle of barefoot wine. Not a good idea.
Yeah, well, you could do something like that and get a really cool, funny story and a new name out of it, just like Barefoot here. Otherwise, I found that certainly the DEF CON network is more hazardous than probably anywhere else in the world except for maybe Ukraine right now in the RF spectrum. But you have to understand that you are not, unless you are somebody special, you're not a target. So as long as you do simple things to not like be low-hanging fruit, your threat profile is going to be fairly low. So you can be completely anal retentive and do all of the wild things and put everything in a Faraday bag and do all of that. And there are some people that are part of this community that will absolutely do that. Wear a lot, cough, cough. But you understand that as long as you aren't just being like, hey, look, everybody, this is my Wi-Fi password, or this is how I log into my bank apps, and you don't connect to, you're doing that over an open network. Don't do stuff like that. Don't be an idiot. But generally speaking, you'll be fine otherwise. No need to be incredibly paranoid because, as Sean said earlier, nobody's going to drop a 0 day on you, and nobody really cares about you in particular as a person, unless you're somebody special.
Agreed. All right, sweet. So I know I dropped the video I'm going to start talking about some DEF CON Null 404 party related stuff. So for those who don't know, I did drop the video. I didn't describe any of the game mechanics yet. And I think that gets dropped at video 3 or 4. I can't remember.
Kevin, before we go into our party, dude, you want me to kill the stream or do you want to keep going?
Let's kill the stream and let's keep it internal.
All right, right on.